So I started the Secret Parent book 2 years ago, and it's been a long, hard journey, a lonely one, although I've been surrounded by the most loving family and friends and colleagues. There were days where I couldn't get out of bed. I would sleep for days on end, but nobody knew, because I would still function fully. I would still get up, go to work with my clients, but I was sad. And I didn't realize why until October last year. I said to my husband, "You know what, Steve? I haven't mourned." And it was the morning of an unborn baby, because Stephen and I were unable to have children. Happily married for 20 years in December. Woo! And we need a hip hip hooray for that. And I just said to him, you know, all this time, it's been mourning the loss of not having a child. But yet, how blessed am I to have children all over the world, working with my coaches, my little coachees, and I've got a few of my clients here, which is amazing. How amazing that I've got 5 nieces, 1 nephew. I'm not a mother of none. I'm a mother of many. And I realized that I was put on this path for a reason. And at the time, it was a hard journey. At the time, I didn't fit in. I struggled. But now I know my purpose. And this is the culmination of the reason why God did not gift Stephen and I with children, because we've got bigger work to do. And I'm so blessed to have my ladies standing here, Team Zeal UK, in their t-shirts, and I've got a team of coaches around the world working with the most beautiful children. So tonight is about celebrating the fact that there are many parents in this room who are parents, and let me tell you something, I've given birth to a book. I didn't even know that was possible. So, let me tell you, the birthing process was hard, but I did it. Now I know what all you mothers go through. My word. So, I want to share a little story with you, and it's about my brother and I. So, we're 3 years apart. And when he was about 5 and I was 8 years old, my mom said we could go and play with our neighbor, but on one condition. I had to make sure that I walked my brother home, if he wanted to come home, to open the gate, because he was a little bit short. So anyway, needless to say, I'm a child, right? I was 8 years old. He wanted to go home and I didn't. And he went home on his own, because I said, I'm not going to open the gate for you. And when he tried to open the gate, he fell. And he cracked his head open and got stitches. And that is my first memory that I have of getting into real big trouble as a child. Really big trouble. But then there's a couple of other stories too. When my cousin and I, and Bradley, my cousin, in fact, there he is coming down the stairs, we born 2 weeks apart. We used to go into my mother's grocery cupboard and we used to steal chocolates out the cupboard. And we used to get into such trouble, but it was so worth it because we got to eat that chocolate. So why I'm sharing these stories with you is because all of us here were children once, and we have this inner child within us. And sometimes we forget, in the seriousness of life, that that child is still there. So what I'd love for you to do, just for a minute or two, is just to turn to the people around you. If you're here with family or friends, if you're not, turn to the person to your left or right. And I'd love you to share your first childhood memory you can remember of getting into real trouble, like I did. Like real trouble, not the scary stuff. Like just spit it out, whisper that secret out loud. Spit it out, go on. Wow, some people have got very long stories. Okay, so how did that feel? Because we've got 2 people there who are, that was a long story, that one. A long one. How did that feel, sharing that secret? So the thing is, the thing is that sometimes we've got secrets that we don't remember, but when we talk about them, they actually make us giggle and laugh. Like I saw a lot of you giggling and laughing, and they were really good childhood secrets, even though you got into trouble. It was actually pretty cool. And then you have secrets that you don't really want to whisper. You're ashamed of them, choices you've made. And that's why I do the work that I do. Because childhood is meant to be a time where you make mistakes, where you get things wrong, where your choices aren't always right. But what I would love is to see a world where adults can talk about their mistakes with pride, a badge of honor, and say, you know what, that doesn't define me. It was a choice I made at that time, and this is the person I'm choosing to be today. So your real worth is derived from who you choose to be, even when life has other ideas for you. Now, the fact of the matter is that I know that there are people in this room, every single one of us, we have something in common. All of us have had our own mountain to climb in one way or another, whether it's illness, whether it's death of family members, whether it's crime, divorce, children struggling at school. It doesn't matter. We all have had our own mountain to climb, but it doesn't define you. It's what you make of that story, and it's about you writing the ending of that story. So I did something naughty the other day. I tweeted, and I'm not a very good tweeter. Jill over there will tell you I'm a lazy tweeter, okay? And I tweeted to the Children's Commissioner because she put something on Twitter that I disagreed with. She said that she wants to get more funding to put one counsellor in each school because there's so many children at risk. If you read these stats up here, does that look like we need only one counsellor per school? Now, I know that there's the mainstream way of doing things, but for the past 15 years, as a kids' life coach, I've been going against the flow. I've been swimming upstream. I've been doing my own thing in my little corner of the world, just hoping somebody would pay attention. So I tweeted back and I said, you know, we don't need counsellors. What we need is a kids' life coach in every single classroom. Every teacher, and I've got teachers here today, you shaking your heads. Every teacher needs to be trained as a kids' life coach to have the skills to be able to support children. So she didn't pay attention to me, but I felt pretty good about that because I know the way my team and I around the world are making an impact is through the results that we are getting. And the results we are getting is the children that we work with, the stories that they tell, their success stories, because our success as coaches is measured by the success of our clients. And I've got 2 of my clients here tonight, which I'm sure you'll all meet later on. And so I'm hoping that when you leave this evening, you'll join me in spreading the message that kids' life coaching, although it's not mainstream yet, is something that could really benefit. So spread the word, get it out there. So in chapter 3 of my book, there's a story about taking a bath in cold jelly. And that story is about one of my clients who taught me how to overcome my fear of heights. And you'll read the story in the book. It's amazing. Then I have, in chapter 2, kids in the attic. Children I worked with in inner city London, in Brixton. Our classroom was right up in the attic. I had their mothers prostituting themselves outside. I had children coming to school high. Then I have, I think it's in chapter 5, forgive me, a chapter called Condom Boy, about a little boy, age 12, who would go out and solicit clients for his mother. I've got stories in my book about children I've worked with who lived on the streets of South Africa. They have such grit and resilience. I worked with young girls in a place of safety, all sexually abused, hidden away from society because they were at risk in high-profile court cases, hidden, shipped off to different schools every day to make sure that they were kept safe. I've worked with the most amazing children who've shown me that in those days that I was feeling sad and I was feeling depressed because of what was going on in my life, that they had bigger things to worry about. So rebranding your childhood is taking what happened to you in your childhood, the good and the bad things, packaging them in such a way that they don't define you negatively, but they create the future that you deserve to live. And what I do when I coach children is I give them hope. I don't have all the answers. I'm not perfect, but I give them hope. I give them strategies, toolkits that they can go out there and make something of their life. So the hidden truth behind what's happening in this country. Now, the reason why I wanted to share the stats in the United Kingdom was because this is where my husband and I have chosen to plant our roots. My mother-in-law is here sitting in the front row, my sister-in-law, my 4 nieces, my other sister-in-law, brother-in-laws. This is where we've chosen to live. My family is back home in South Africa, and for a very long time, I felt so displaced. I felt like I didn't have a place here. And I realized it was my mindset, because I see England as a very privileged, wealthy country. And I come from a country where there's no funding, and there's a lot of crime, a lot of poverty. And I realized how unfair of me to compare the two. So I started really paying attention to what is going on. And it wasn't as good as I thought it was. It's actually pretty dire. And what I find really scary is that up until June this year, there's 1,000 places in mental health services that have not been filled. There's waiting lists for children at risk. But here's my question to you. Why is it that only when children are at risk, when they're suicidal, when they're self-harming, when they've got eating disorders, drug and alcohol abuse, why only then do parents pay attention? Do teachers pay attention? Do you know why? It's because it's too scary to think about it beforehand. Kids life coaching is like insurance. You have insurance for your car, insurance for your home, life insurance, in the event that something might go wrong. Kids life coaching is just that. It's giving children a toolkit, because let me tell you something. Mental health is really important. And if you've got a toolkit to manage your stress and your anxiety, you can face anything. And so these statistics are real. So what do we do about it? We've got a room full of people who've come here to support me, and it's about us going out there and spreading the message. So what I'd love for you to do later on is to grab the dress-up goodies. There's some rainbow feather boas and hats and glasses, photo frame, and there's a place at the back there. Take some photos and start becoming advocates for children's mental health, spreading the word about prevention rather than cure. We want children to grow up to be resilient and strong in their mind, their body, their heart, and their soul. Oh golly, this is scary, right? So now, I've been in business for 15 years, and numbers has never been my strong point, but when I look at this is kind of scary. Now, I was a statistic that was in the mental health system because of circumstance, because of trauma. And I just believe that we need to start shifting the way we do things. Now, let me tell you the little secret that got me through my trauma. It's quite simple. It's having a purpose. Do you know why so many people are in the mental health system? Do you know why so many people are struggling with depression and anxiety? Because they do not have a purpose. They go from day to day, rushing to their jobs, backwards, forwards, on the train, hunting money, going on holidays twice a year. And that's great, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So long as the people don't forget the important things, because I feel like we've lost a sense of connection. And so I think that we can curb, wow, he agrees with me, right? I think we can curb this through prevention. So here's the other thing. I've got coaches around the world, and we listen to what the children say at grassroots level. Now, this was taken from the BBC. They did a little survey recently on what worry children the most. And these are some of the things that children said. But I want to share a little story with you about my nephew. He's 9. And he spoke to me on the phone and he said to me, I found a perfect present for you when you come and visit in South Africa next. And I was really excited. I love presents. And he said to me, I found you some pepper spray. I was like, pepper spray? He says, yes, so that when you come and visit, you can keep yourself safe, because South Africa is a really dangerous place. So he's 9 and he's a beautiful boy, and I've got 5 beautiful nieces, but because of where he lives, he has different anxieties to children in this country. So it's all relative. When it comes to telling your story, I need to share a bit of mine, because this might encourage you to share a bit of yours. So why is it that we need to share our stories? I'll tell you why. Because if we keep those stories inside us, it creates mental health problems. So whether you share it with a psychologist, a family member, a coach, parent, whoever you choose, you need to be speaking and telling your story and not letting it define you. So a little bit about my story. I was a high achiever, always getting it right at school. I worked really hard, but you know what? I often used to cry in bed, and I had a lovely childhood, a happy childhood. My mom and dad didn't know. Why is that? Simply because it was something that people just don't talk about. And this is still happening. We keep our hurts and our pains within us rather than share them. Why is it for so many years, 8 years in fact, I was on medication, antipsychotic medication? Do I look psychotic to you? 8 years, when many of you knew me. Nobody knew. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was admitted to a psychiatric unit twice. Not because I'm weak, but because I was strong enough to ask for help. I knew that if I didn't fix my clinical depression, and we have some clinical psychologists in the room, if I didn't fix my clinical depression with medication, I was a goner. Now I want to share something else. So in the past 18 months, I've lost 2 family members to suicide. An uncle, last year March, and a cousin in January. Mental health runs in families. And we don't need to hide it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But it's hard to speak up about it. And what I'm loving about this country is that people are starting to talk and have open dialogues. I'm not ashamed of the journey I've walked. It doesn't define me. Anybody who knows me here knows I'm fun-loving. I always the life of the party, and I don't need drugs to do that. I've been off drugs for many years. But if you are struggling, tell your story. Because someone is out there to listen to you. So I'd love to go through a couple of myths about mental illness, because today is World Mental Health Day. And I've just shared with you about my family. Okay, so yes, some people are born with mental illness. However, here's the kicker. Listen to this one. Before the age of 14, if interventions are put in place, that does not have to run into adulthood. So if you know of a child who has signs of a mental illness, there is hope. Catch them before they reach that golden age, preferably to age 12. Give them the strategies and the skills so that they don't have to end up where I ended up, where so many other people end up. So mental illness is quite taboo when we talk about it. However, what I want to say is that every one of you here, at one point in your life, will have, or still to come, will suffer from depression. Okay? That's a fact. And that's okay. Because at the Kids Life Studio, that's my organization, we have 7 key ingredients for life. And so long as you've got this one really important ingredient in place, you'll be okay. And that ingredient is support. If you have a support network, people who can love you and support you unconditionally, unconventionally, with upbeat upliftments, you'll be okay. So where to from here? Are you going to stay in this room, eat my lovely snacks, maybe go home with the book, maybe take a few pictures, and then zip your lip and not talk about mental health again? Are you going to suffer in silence behind closed doors? What are you going to do to make a change? Because I know I'm doing something, and let me tell you, Stephen will tell you that this is scary for me. For the first time ever, telling my story, because I'm scared of judgments. I'm scared of stigma. I'm scared of people taking this and going, and we all are. But you know what? I know that the people who want to pay attention will pay attention, and they know who I am and what I stand for. So as long as you stand in your truth, you work according to your values, you will be fine. So let's talk about solutions. And this is the exciting part. So I'm from South Africa, and there it's said that it takes a village to raise a child. Now, I grew up on hidings, okay? In this country, there's no smacks. So a good old-fashioned smack is what you grow up on in South Africa. And there's more of a community spirit in South Africa in the sense that there's co-parenting that happens. So I think this is the solution. We need to have an army of secret parents. A secret parent is the teacher in the classroom, the social worker, the sports coach, the au pair, anybody who has an impact on a child's life. They are the secret parent. But now, here's the thing, there's a little complication here, right? In my journey as not being a parent, I've seen that it's primal for parents to want to keep their young close to them, to protect them, because that's your job. You've got these beautiful children born to you, so it's really hard to allow other people to step in and share what you see as your responsibility. But here's the thing, go deep into the Amazon, go to the Kalahari deserts, and go and see how those tribes are raising their children, and see if those children have got mental illness problems. See whether those children have got ADD or eating disorders. What I'm trying to say here, the solution is simple. Just get back to basics. The reason why I had this at the Childhood Museum is very simple. We have to put the child back into childhood. All of you were children once. And it takes a village to raise a child. So how do we start nurturing these secret parents? How do parents who want to protect and nurture their young and who fear judgment hand over that responsibility? Well, here's what you need to do, is really have a solid values base for your family. If your values are really, really solid, no matter who has an impact on your child, no matter which secret parent steps in, your child will be okay, because they will make good choices even when you're not watching. That's what you're looking for. So you can hand your child over to secret parents, to their teachers and to their sports coaches. If you know that at home you're getting it right and that your child knows where they stand and what they stand for and what your family brand stands for, they'll be okay. And it's about letting other people also impact on children. It's not just about the family unit. So the solution here is simple, and I'm going to give you some homework in a minute. The solution is, I want you to start playing more. Do you know what the language of childhood is? play. How do you get through to a child? Play. When does a child get antsy? When they're not playing, when they're sitting behind a desk and they've got to do work. The language of childhood is play. Do children misbehave when they are playing and they're engaged? Heck no. So, here's your homework. Okay, your homework is to play more with the children around you. Is that hard homework? Come on. Even if you don't have children of your own, play, have fun. Why is it as adults we're also scared of being silly? Why? It's because of judgment. We need that inner child within us to come out sometime. And that's why I love working with my coaches. We're all children at heart. We play for a living. And it's wonderful. So can you do that homework for me? Yep. You're going to play more. Yep. Because being an adult is pretty serious business. It's really serious. You've got to pay the bills. You've got to be responsible. You've got to raise the kids. Yeah? So I want you to play more. And my coaches will tell you that I take them through a training program. And part of their training program is getting them to look after themselves first so that they can put their gas masks on and help the children in their care. And one of my coaches, she never schedules time for herself. She knows who she is. I won't even look in her direction. So I challenged her and I said, right, you need to make a date with yourself to go and play. Put it in the diary. And she's like, oh, well, I don't have time. I've got this meeting. I'm like, no, don't want to hear it. Put it in the diary. Oh, I said, and I want to see a photo when you're doing it. And we want to see it on our Facebook group. That's it. And she did it. And it was exhilarating. As adults, if we want our mental health to work for us, we have to be role models to children. If we are always busy, working hard, we're rushing from place to place, we've never got time for anything, we're always stressed, always on our mobile phones, what message is that giving to our children? So just schedule time in your diary for play like you would going to the dentist or your doctor's checkup. Can you do that homework? Are you sure? I can see a bit of reluctance here. Ah, you did it already. Easy. Okay, good. Okay, so I want you to stand up. We're going to play quickly. Come on, stand up. You know that spinning game where you close your eyes and you spin around a few times? That's what I'm going to ask you to do, but just be gentle, be careful. Not too fast. I don't want you to get too dizzy. But what's going to happen is when I say stop, you're going to stop and open your eyes and point your arm up to wherever it is that you're facing, okay? So make sure there's nothing around you. You ready? And start spinning. Around and around. Oh, I can see some of you going really, really fast. Around and around and around. This isn't much fun. Okay, stop and put your arm up. Straight ahead in front of you. Okay? Now I want you to look at the people around you. Don't move your arms. Just look at where their arms are pointing. Do you see everybody's pointing in a different direction? Yeah? Keep that picture in your mind because that is what's currently happening in our mental health system. That's what's currently happening. Everybody's moving in different directions. So thank you. You can take a seat. Did you see how you were all pointing in different directions? We all need to get on the same page. We all need to be talking about mental health and not being ashamed of it. So what I'd love for you to do for the rest of this evening is to enjoy some snacks, play the games that my team have put out for you, perhaps take a book or two home, or 3 or 4, I don't know. You decide. And the museum is open for you to go and tour. Because let me tell you, I went for a little tour earlier and it was so exciting. It took me straight back to my childhood. Because when you leave here, I want you to point in the same direction as me. And that is to put the child back into childhood. To get children playing, to get families eating around the table together. To get families having good old-fashioned fun, playing board games. None of this technology nonsense. There's a time and place for it, yes. I love my phone. My husband will tell you I'm addicted. And there's a time and place for it, but you know what? Just getting back to good old-fashioned basics, doing things together, because then half of our problems would disappear. So if you can all leave here tonight pointing in the same direction as me, playing more, that means you're speaking the language of childhood. That means children are going to look at you and they're going to go, wow, okay. Mom and dad work really hard, but they also know how to have fun. They're not always stressed. So, so important. So on that note, I have a couple of thank yous. I want to say thank you to my team, Jill, Annette, Candy and Kirsty, my UK team. And then those of you who are watching around the world, I've got coaches in far and wide places, New Zealand, Australia, help me ladies, Norway, Canada, California, Bahamas, Delhi, yes, we just signed up India the other day, Dubai, Qatar, Africa, loads in Africa, Kenya, Dubai, yeah, all over. Can I tell you something? We are the secret parents. We're a little secret army out there, so watch the space. Because maybe people aren't paying attention yet, but I've been working quietly and silently for 15 years to get to this stage, where I can tell you I'm proud of who I am. Doesn't matter what my mental health issues were. Doesn't matter what I've gone through. Because you know why? I have a team around me, and they are doing amazing work. Because I had a dream, and that was that I wanted to impact on children globally, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. But I've done it. But let me tell you, I would never have been able to do it without these people believing in me. My beautiful team, we call ourselves Team Zelnas. We are quite zealful. So I want to say thank you to my team for believing in me, for working so hard for children around the world. I'm really proud to be part of this team. And then a couple of people who aren't here, my parents, if my mom is watching, and my dad. My journey that I've been on has been beautiful and amazing. It's been hard times, but they gave me the foundation to shape me. And I'm here, out at the other side, new, fresh, rejuvenated. And I want to say thank you to my husband, Stephen, because he sat behind closed doors with me, nursing me, taking care of me when I was at my weakest. And I'm really, really blessed and very privileged to have somebody like Stephen by my side. And my wish is for all of you to find your buddies who can support you no matter what you go through. They don't judge you, don't label you, they just love you. And you know what? That's all children want. They just want you to love them unconditionally, unconventionally, with upbeat upliftment. So thank you for sharing this evening with me.